how many of you could relate to any part of that song? Just raise your hand. Yeah. In this wild, crazy world that we live in, it's hard to do that. Just breathe. You look at the news, you look at all the things around our world, and the demands on our life, and it becomes really a difficult thing, a crazy thing to just breathe. Well, welcome to those of you here in the room, those of you welcome online. Welcome to the non-sermon. Okay, and the reason I say that is this. If you've grown up in the church, this time is usually what they classically call a sermon. This series it's more of a message. It's more of a, what does God say and how does this apply to my life? It's more of application as we enter into as you enter back into your busy life right after church or Monday through the whole week. And so the next couple of weeks is going to be a little bit unusual in terms of what the sermons are going to be about. In fact, some of you will walk out of here today going, there wasn't any Bible. I didn't see Jesus, kind of thing. So I just need you to be patient with me because Jesus is here, God is here, but this series is really something that I just have been feeling like our church, our community, and people that you know maybe, even watching online, really need. And here's what's really cool about what you're going to see. Even if you don't believe in Jesus, even if you don't believe the God thing, even if you're like, yeah, whatever, you came Easter Sunday, now you're watching online, you don't have to benefit from, you don't have to be a believer to benefit from what God says that we're going to take a look at, okay? Does that make sense? So anyway, I want to start with something a little bit unusual, if you will, and this will kind of set the stage, especially for today, and maybe a word that you've seen swirling around in our services already. I want to teach you something that I read about recently that is used with the Navy SEALs, with first responders. Athletes use this, speakers, keynote speakers use this, and the astronauts who just went around the moon use this. Wasn't that like the greatest day to see that? That was super epic. And in all of these areas, all of these people, there's one thing that connects you to them, and it's stress. We all feel stress at any moment of our lives. There's a certain amount of stress that we feel depending on our life situation. So I'm going to teach you something just right off the bat in the very beginning of the service, and it's this thing called box breathing or tactical breathing. Anybody ever hear of this before? Yeah, first service too. A couple people have heard this. And basically it's really, we're actually going to do this. So simply put, you see where the little star is. You basically inhale for 4 seconds, or I actually do 4 counts, because 4 seconds and I pass out. There's not enough air in my blood. So I just do a 4-second count of inhaling, and we hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale, we hold that for the 4 seconds, and then so inhale for 4 seconds, we hold that. Exhale for 4 seconds, and we hold that, and then we're back at the top, okay? So you ready to do that? Okay? Shake it out, shake it out. I feel like a motivational speaker or something, yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. So inhale, and I'll just count. It's not going to be 4 seconds. It's just 4 counts. Ready? Here we go. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Now breathe. Okay, nobody passed out, so that's good. We only had 6 people pass out first service, but just kidding, that didn't happen. But anyway, that's box breathe. How did you feel after that? Usually when you do a longer hold on each of those, you feel a little bit better, but even that simple exercise of what we just did, your physical body has been benefited by what we did, right? Breathing helps relieve some of that stress. And now some of you are like, did I do it right? Now I'm stressed that I didn't do the box breathing right. Like, it's just who we are as people. So here's how this breathing thing is connected to things spiritual. Box breathing works because God designed your physical body with a built-in way to return to peace. He built your body in a physical way to return to peace. He didn't just command peace like we see in the Bible. He designed your body, your physical body, to actually experience it. When you slow your breathing, you're not just calming yourself down. You're actually stepping into a rhythm that God has already built within you physically. And what's really amazing is, any of you ever wake up at 2 a.m. stressed, thinking about just everything? I know I must be the only one that does that. Yeah. And we're just like, our brains are going, we can't get back to sleep. First of all, the reason we do that is it's mental, but it's a physical reason as well. When you wake up in the middle of the night, see, you're like, this isn't a sermon. When you wake up in the middle of the night, your cortisol levels and your cortisol levels are taking over, and you're actually tapping into the primal part of you that is the fight or flight reflex. So when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're worried all of a sudden, it's because the cognitive part of you hasn't woken up yet to diffuse the bad stuff. So you're like, your brain is searching for all the bad things that can happen in the middle of the night. Okay? One of the ways to break that is box breathing and listening to yourself breathe. It's not just a tip or a trick. It's the way God has put that in you. And again, it's that rhythm. And here's where we see that it's a rhythm. And this is so cool. Watch this. Genesis 2. The Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground. And how did he jumpstart the man? How did us humans get started? He breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and humanity became living, a living being. Isn't that cool? So the breath that we breathe is a holy thing. In the Old Testament, the original language, the Hebrew word is ruach. So it even has the sound, of the breath. So it's ruach, it's breathing. Your breathing gives you life. When stress hits, your system shifts into overdrive, but slow, intentional breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. I practice that word, obviously. But it tells your body you're safe. It tells your physical body you're safe. Your heart steadies, your mind clears, and even your thoughts begin to settle. And your breath slows down and reminds you that God is near. That's why God put this in you, to give you physical peace. And for some of you, what we just did, that might be the first time you've exhaled all week. And I don't mean a figure of speech. I mean, your body has been in such a low-grade sense of tension so long that you've kind of stopped noticing that you're tense, that you have tight shoulders, clenched jaws. Have you ever had somebody in your life look at you and go, boy, you're really stressed? And you're like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. You're tight and stressed. And we are people, I believe, that have sometimes forgotten how to exhale. And that's what this series is getting back to. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to sit in this invitation that Jesus gives to us, that is, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, right? We're going to talk about this more in depth in a couple of weeks. But we're going to take that invitation seriously as a church, as individuals, and not as a bumper sticker, not as a feeling, but as a way of actually living it out. This is permission to exhale. And so today, it's permission to let go. And if anybody sings the Disney song related to that, you're excommunicated from the church. No, just kidding. So I don't have to tell you, we've all gone through busy seasons in life, right? And we go through these things because somebody asks us to do something, and we take something on as a weight, something like this, right? I was going to bring my 300-pounder in, but I just, couldn't fit it in my car. But we take on just a weight like this, and we're like, okay, this isn't, this is 5 pounds. It's not really a big deal. That's fine. Then somebody else says, you know what, there's also this other thing that you could do. And you're like, oh yeah, it's not too bad. And you know what happens before long, these weights pile up in your life, and you realize, I've taken on too much. I've had moments like that where I look around and I go, what have I done? How can I live more simply? I'm so overwhelmed and stressed. And then one time I remember specifically, I'm praying about this in my devotion time, and it's almost like God talked to me. He doesn't do that audibly, but it was this sense of, he asked the question, or I heard this question, who told you that you had to hold all of this? Who told you you had to? And I processed that, and I thought to myself, you know what? Expectations from people, expectations from family, from past, all these things, nobody really had forced me to. Who told you that you had to hold all the weight that you're living in? I mean, the weights are real in our lives, right? We have work, we have deadlines, we have difficult people we have to work with, right? And somewhere underneath all of it, we carry those even quieter things, like the guilt that we carry as a weight in our life from wounds that were from years and years ago, and they flare up. Or maybe fear that people will find out what's going on inside me. Sunday morning is great, but we kind of put on a veneer, don't we? We don't want people to know, I'm really hurting right now. I'm stressed. I'm carrying a heavy, heavy weight. And I read a study, 80% of adults say they experience stress daily, severe stress daily. Not just, I'm struggling, but it's severe from finances, from family, all these different kinds of things. And we all carry them. And so here's what I want to suggest to you this morning. Some of that weight is because we worry about what other people say, what my past has said. We worry about different things in our life. We worry about different things, and we couch it as caring about something. So worry about something is not the same as caring about something. And so what are you worrying, what are you, quote, caring about today that maybe you're masking worry with the word caring? A lot of what we worry about was never ours to pick up in the first place. So let's jump to Matthew 6 that we read. Jesus is preaching again, Sermon on the Mount. He says that what he says sounds almost irresponsible. And he says this. He's looking around, he sees his disciples and their situation in life at this point, and he says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life. And I could just hear the disciples going, what? What are you talking about? Do not worry. Do you know what I have to live with? Or maybe some of you, do not worry. What about the bills I have to pay, the family I'm trying to raise, the struggles I'm having with this disobedient daughter or son or husband? That was a joke. I was just throwing that in there. But what you have to realize is the disciples, Jesus knows his audience. He's telling this group of people not to worry, but the disciples' life back then was not like ours at all. We have no problem taking care of the needs that we have. If we need food, we just go to the refrigerator and get it, or the pantry, or we run over to Cub and we just grab, what we want or what we need, basically in our local culture here. But the disciples, every day was survival. That's why Jesus again prayed, give us this day our daily bread. It's all tied together. The disciples' life was crazy. So Jesus, he says, don't worry about what you're going to eat or drink, about your body, what you're going to wear. Life's way more important to be just churning and thinking about worrying about those things. And he says this amazing thing. He says, can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And let me be clear on this. Jesus is not saying, he's not saying that your problems aren't real. Like maybe you're thinking of something in your life that is a struggle. It's heavy. But he's not saying that your problems aren't real. He's not offering sort of this don't worry, be happy kind of situation. He knows you have a mortgage. Jesus knows that this upcoming appointment's frightening, or he knows that you have somebody who's struggling, or your margins are thin, or the transmission in your car just doesn't sound healthy. He knows all of that. What he is saying is this, and let's say this together. Ready? Go. Worry is not a tool that works. Worry is not a tool in your life that works. It's normal, right? It's natural because we're in a fallen human situation. It's normal, but worry in our lives is not a tool that works because worry, I've said this before, worry is always future-based. You can't worry about something in the past. Let me explain that. So something happens in the past, you're not worrying about what happened, you're worrying about the results of what could happen in the future based on that past event. Worry is always future-based. It hasn't happened yet, which means it might or probably won't happen yet. I missed a payment on my car payment. They're going to come and repossess my car. Have they yet? No. Why are you worrying about it? Work on it, do something, But worry is always future-based. You know the other word that's always future-based? Fear. Fear is the granddaddy of worry. Fear is always future-based. It hasn't happened yet. Can any of you add a single hour to your life by worrying? And the answer, no. We can't. Worry has never solved a problem. It's only ever consumed the people, consumed us that are holding us. And some of us have a spiritual gift of worrying, don't we? No matter what happens in our life, no matter the great things that happen, yeah, but this could happen. This was great that I got to meet with this person, but now I bet they're talking behind my back. It's just this cycle. Many of us have that. I have that in certain areas of my life. But worry is this natural human fallen state, and Jesus knows that, and in the gospel lesson, he points to this, he lightens the mood, if you will, by pointing to the birds, because, birds don't have it easy. I have a little bird feeder out on my deck, and now that the weather is nice, many of you know that, the birds are starting to come out, and they're starting to do their thing and chirp and all that. But if you actually look at what they do, they work a lot. Like they do a whole bunch of things. They have it hard. They build nests. They migrate. They don't store up their food in the barns. They don't have a refrigerator they go to when they're hungry. They live with the provision of the present moment that the Father in heaven feeds them. And if that's true, Jesus says, aren't you way, way more important than that? That Jesus is God will take care of you. And so the question is then how do we not worry? Well, Al read 1 Peter 5, and this is where we get a couple of different words that are a little surprising when we think about this in the context of worrying and what this verse is saying. So 1 Peter 5 that we read said this, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And that word cast is an interesting word, right? We have our worry here. And I want to invite Caitlin up to help me illustrate this. She's scared to death because I didn't really tell her what I was going to do. So right here. Come on up. So basically, if we're seeing this as worry, Jesus said, cast your worry to him, okay? So you're Jesus. So it isn't this. The Greek word is not this. Here, can you just hold that for me? It's not too heavy, right? That is not casting. That is placing. Jesus didn't say, just place it nicely in my hands, right? He said this, cast it. You ready? You ready? You got this? Okay. I'm going to count just to make sure. Ready? 1, 2, 3. See? There you go. Nice job. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so what's the difference between those two? So many times with our worries and our struggles and our hurts, we take these worries and we just sort of go, yeah, okay, I'll give it to you. And then maybe we kind of take it back in our back pocket, don't we? But Jesus is very specific. He uses a very specific word. Casting is throwing. It's gentle. It's not gentle. It's not casually transferred. It's like chucking it to God. Cast. But he also says before that, make sure you check the condition of your heart. Humble yourselves. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? Like we want the casting without the humbling. We want relief without admission. But humility brings you acknowledgement, something that I'm going to say that you're not going to like about you worrying. Many of our worries are true and all of that. But oftentimes, worry can show, and without humility, can show that we've been trying to be our own God. That we've been operating as though the outcome of every situation depends entirely on my effort and my control. I have to figure this out myself. If I don't carry this burden, who will? God might not handle it the way I think he should. So I'm going to worry about it. You weren't meant to carry that. You weren't meant to carry that. And then it comes to the most important phrase. He's saying this, humble yourself, give it, cast it to Jesus because he cares for you. He loves you. That might be a new thing. Wait a second. I thought God was this massive, ugly judge that if I mess up, he's going to slam the hammer down on me and all. No, he loves you. Everything he says is directed and driven by his love for you through Christ. Right? It's not this distant goodwill. God is very aware of every single worry and struggle and tense thing that you go through. It's kind of like if you have a little child, and aren't you watching them all the time? Making sure they're not putting their finger in the outlet, they're not chasing the dog, you're just watching, just enjoying them, but you're watching over them. It's the same words. God loves you so much that he watches over you, and he wants you to give him the weight. So what does that look like for you this week? This is where that little card comes in. And I made them small so you can take it with you and put it in your wallet or in your car or something just to remind you. There's 3 things that I want to give. And these are actually, they feel a little personal development-ish kind of thing. But they're actually tied to ancient Jewish traditions and also a monastic life way back in the Middle Ages. These things have been around for centuries and have been practiced for centuries. So the first thing is this. With all this worry, all this weight that I carry, what is God asking me to do? And so the first thing is this. These are called exhaling techniques. First one is this. Every morning, maybe this week, before you open your phone, spend just a couple of minutes on what I call a release list. So I have a to-do list. I have checklists for different things at work and different things. But what I'm calling a release list, and write down every worry or anxious thought and everything that you're holding on to that should belong to God as you look into your day. Like maybe you're having a meeting with someone. You can't control how they're going to respond to what you have to say. That's a God thing, right? And it's, Lord, I cast this on you and mean it. Write it down. Open your hands lightly and just say, God, I give these things to you. Okay, that's the first one. Second one is this, and we've already done this. The box breathe. Right? Practice the box breathe. As you're feeling that stress or worrying, maybe even in the first thing in the morning, just take time to breathe. And often the worries, the weights are hijacking your peace if you start this way, you train your spirit, you train your body to operate this throughout the day. Box breathes. And as you do, just be praying, Lord, thank you for the breath. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. That's the song. We pray that as we do the box breathing. And then third, again, this is an ancient practice that monasteries and monks have adopted. In fact, the monks operate their day. This will be the third one. They operate their day around 7 prayers throughout the day. The very last prayer of the day is called Compline, and it's the final prayer of the night, specifically focused on gratitude, on release, and entrusting the night to God. So at the end of each of the days, before you close your eyes, pray this and write it down. Pray, Lord, thank you for handling this situation in my life. Think back through the day. And as you pray that, you might have an empty blank for a couple of days, maybe even weeks. But eventually, God will, I believe this, God will start showing you, Lord, this is where I saw God work. I had no idea that was going to happen. This past week, I was in Arizona with my parents, and just kind of taking care of them, doing some house projects and things, and had just a wonderful time. And there were several moments where I'm closing my eyes at night, and I'm like, Lord, thank you for handling this situation with them. There was... I'll just share one of them. My parents moved, many of you know, from Wisconsin down to Arizona, Vail, Arizona, outside of Tucson. And they're doing their taxes, and there's one tax document we needed. My dad we used to live in Canada, had to get the Canadian government on the line. It was a mess. My sister's been working on this for months, and it's just been really crazy. And I look back on that, and the Canadian government called us and said, we don't have your right address, basically. Got the address, and we got the tax form. And again, we've been working on this for months. And I look back, and I said, the way that all worked out, I can't explain it, what happened, was just a God thing. Like, God, thank you. Thank you for handling that. This is a weight I didn't need to carry anymore. There were so many things that happened this week like that. But as you're doing it, ask God to show you maybe 2 or 3 things that he's already handled. Not things that you've handled, not things but things that he's handled. This is how you train yourself to see the hand of God that's already holding you, that feeds you, that takes care of you, that loves you, And he proved it because of Jesus. And so I want to close with this. Letting go of anxiety is not passivity. It's not like, oh, well, okay. It takes work. It's the opposite. You release the weight of what you've never meant to carry intentionally so that you free up everything else for the use of God. And the energy returns to your actual life. And I've got to be honest, Lent was a killer for me. I did way too much in Lent, during Lent. It was fun, but I got Monday, actually Easter afternoon, I get to my parents' house, I get to their house, and I'm just like, like shed all of the weight, just everything. It was a lot. I did too much. But the presence of God, the reminder of the releasing of that gave me life, gives you life as you just breathe so that you can love God with all your heart, love the people he's placed in your life, live fully for the purpose he's created for you, the very purpose that caused God to send his son Jesus and raise him from the dead. Because the good news is that Jesus didn't stay dead. The breath of God breathed new life into his physical body, and he rose from the dead. God doesn't want a shell of a person who is technically functioning but quietly suffering. He wants you to be alive. He wants you to be light. And it starts maybe right now with just that simple act of trust. Whatever you're holding this morning that you're realizing, I don't need to hold this. Whatever came to mind when I was talking, maybe somebody you know really needs the benefit from this, or they're really struggling. Let it go. Let it go. Because when you do, you're not just exhaling worry, you're breathing in the resurrection life of Jesus. And when you do that, you can realize that because of Jesus, you are given permission to exhale. Amen? Amen. Let's stand to pray.